Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's live stream AMA. Luke and I are no longer together, unfortunately, but the vibes are still high. We've got a bunch of stuff we're going to go over today. So if you have any questions, throw them in the YouTube live chat or the Twitter live chat, not the comments, the live chat. We see them all in here. We'll pull them up as we see fit. But like I said, we're going to go through some things first, and then we'll hop into the AMA stuff as per usual. If you're in game, go to the theater. There is popcorn flying everywhere. That is your small energy booster. And yeah, let's bring up Luke.
Hey, everybody. Excited to be here today. Yeah, no, it's been a funny couple weeks. Yeah, I think today what we'll do in the AMA is we'll kind of go through like the state of where everything is at right now, like how we're feeling about core game, how we're feeling about ecosystem. Luke got fired. Why are you not together? Got together physically. Yeah, what we'll go through today is.
Gosh.
We'll go through today.
Now.
We'll go through the day basically is like a state of the game. We're kind of going to go through like what we think is going well at Pixels and the stuff that we think is going wrong too. Where I'm at right now with the state of the core game is there's a lot of work to do on the core game. Some of the stuff that we've been doing has been going well, and some of it has not been going well. And now internally, when you think about like company building and where I want to take the next like 6 months of the core game is I'm really rethinking some of the things we've been doing over the last couple of months, right? We have a few different initiatives that we've been working on, right? Like live ops is one of the things that we changed a little bit, right? There's some things that have been going well about that, like we've been able to get out more events more quickly. But then there's also been some realities where there's been some very easy mistakes to avoid that we keep making in the team. And this is the kind of stuff that we want to like basically talk about today. We'll also go over some of the high level of the game and the direction and what we're thinking there. We'll kind of like talk about the things that we have been doing, the things that we're still working on. And yeah, we'll go through all that basically. So yeah, Heidi, I know that we had talked about maybe you going over some of these things, but first of all, like maybe what I want to do is just kind of like address some of the issues on my end and what we've been seeing, right? So like the key concept here is like Pixels is trying to do a couple things at once, right? We're building a core game, and we're also trying to solve some of the interesting problems of play to earn, right? Now, I know I keep getting clowned a lot on that publicly, but I'm still really focused on the fundamentals of Web3 gaming, right? There's a lot of different people that we need to please when we're building a Web3 game, right? We have our core player base, we have landowners, we have like people who don't even play the game, but are still very interested in the Pixels ecosystem. And yeah, there's all these different player types basically, and we have to address all of them. There's also like people that want to earn, there's people that play the game for different reasons, right? The thing that we think about when we think about building the game and think about building like the future of Pixels is we're really focused on fundamentals, right? And to me, what does fundamentals mean? There's a couple different things. One, in the core game, fundamentally, the game has to be fun. The game has to be a good game for people to want to play it. And that leads to all the secondary effects. So when a game is fun and the game has like good fundamentals when it comes to like the actual game, the other metrics that we start to look at are the metrics like retention and revenue, right? Now, Pixels is trying to build a sustainable play to earn game, right? And in order to do that, we actually do need to be thinking about revenue. We do need to be thinking about the ins and outs of the ecosystem, but it doesn't work without a fun game, right? So that's the focus of the core game. The other side of things that we're doing too is we're building out tech that helps support this as well. Like a lot of the work we've been doing is around smart task board, big data, segmentation, all of this kind of stuff. And I know that the core player base that listens to these AMAs sometimes isn't as interested in this, but it actually is a really important and big part of what we're working on. And it does help make the game better. And the cool thing is we can actually also expand the ecosystem outside of just like the core game too, by sharing some of that tech with other games. So yeah, right now, what I would say is it's interesting. Like the ecosystem is actually probably the strongest part of Pixels, and the core game is a little lacking right now. When I think about the problems inside of the game right now, one is there's not compelling end game inside of the game, right? Like really the only end game right now is the task board. And what that leads to is like basically the game doesn't get interesting when you hit the end game, right? It's just very routine. And what we need to do is we need to have more end game features that kind of fix this. And we've been filling the end game features with just kind of like live ops events and other things like this. I'm kind of re-questioning our strategy there a little bit. But yeah, essentially there have been some things that haven't gone as smoothly as we would like on the live ops end. And maybe we can address some of that. Now, when I say things haven't been going smoothly, like I want to reiterate this too with like when we say things aren't going smoothly, this means internally, this is also some bigger questions that we're asking. It's like, okay, is the approach that we've been doing over the last 3 months the right one? Should we change it drastically? And I think I'm even moving into the stage where like we're going to acknowledge these mistakes that we've made. And like I think this is going to lead to a higher level strategy change with what we're doing in the core game right now. So Heidi, if you maybe want to go over some of the things that we've done wrong in the last acknowledge all because here, let me just surface this one more time. Like Pixels is trying to make the best game possible. We know that in order to do all the stuff on the ecosystem side that we want to do too, like core Pixels has to be like the pride and joy of like the whole ecosystem, right? Actually, before we even dive into the stuff that we've done wrong, let me just kind of fill you guys in on like how we're viewing this right now. So core Pixels is still our pride and joy. It showcases Pixel and how play to earn works at scale. We're going to be doing some ecosystem expansion soon. And there's actually some really exciting news on the ecosystem side that will be coming out next week, honestly, which I'm so stoked about that. Basically, there's going to be a lot of bullish news next week for what we're doing on the ecosystem side. I don't want to spill the details, spill the beans, but next week's going to finally be the big week. We have some big game features shipping. And then on the ecosystem side, you're going to start to see the Pixel token being used in potentially other games, right? What we're kind of doing on that side is we want to basically expand the Pixel ecosystem. We want to make sure that the Pixel token is kind of viewed as more than just a one game token. It already is, right? There's already 2 games that use the Pixel token, but there will be more soon too. But the thing is, Core Pixels in the game that you guys are all playing, when I say Core Pixels, I mean the Pixels Online game that you guys are all showing up to the AMA for, needs to be the flagship game of the ecosystem and needs to basically show off like what Pixel can actually do. So in order to do that, we have to build out better features. We also have to take accountability for the things that aren't going right, right? I think some people come on these AMAs and they think the team is like, I've heard a lot of accusations of us being like very cocky and arrogant, which is sad because we really just are trying to build the best product possible. And you do want your founders to be excited about what they're building, right? I'm excited about what we're building. That doesn't mean everything is going right. And that does mean that we need to take accountability for the things that are going wrong. We do that internally all the time, right? But we also need to like show you guys the exciting stuff too. So when it comes to radical accountability, we'll kind of go through the things that we think we've done wrong. And after we go through those things, I'm going to kind of talk about like how I'm viewing our strategy shift for the next 3 months when it comes to core game 2.
Yeah, so radical accountability. I actually really like that because if you guys have been around for a while, you know that Luke and I are probably transparent to an amount that's unhelpful, but we see it as, it's a part of our core values and our culture. And over the past two-ish weeks, we've had some live ops events. They've been really fun and successful in some ways. And then we really missed the mark on others. And since we pride ourselves so much on transparency, we've actually had some comments of people being like, why didn't you talk about this earlier? Probably because they're used to us talking about these things immediately and we didn't, for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. So I'm just going to straight up call some of them out so that we can address them and then move forward and learn. So yeah, some things just haven't gone as smoothly. Let's dive in. I have a little list here. So Clover Clash, the pets in Clover Clash were cute as hell. I still need to get one. I still don't have one. But they were meant to have, the pet trait was supposed to be 25 smarts. And unfortunately, they went out with 40. So as soon as we recognized the situation that was going on, we reacted accordingly and changed the preceding ones to have 25 smarts. Obviously, this was upsetting to some users because we announced it 24 hours after the change that we had made. So I apologize for that. You're right. We should have announced it immediately. That's on us. And
yeah, so here's how I view these things. Like these are actually really obvious mistakes that the team just should have no tolerance for. to be
Yeah.
honest. So I view making mistakes inside of the game in like two different categories, right? I think the team should move fast, ship, and break things often. That's actually a very important startup trait that teams should have in the space. I think games teams are typically the opposite. So Scopely, for example, I love Scopely as an example of like a game development studio when it comes to like the business economics side. They spent 4 to 5 years building out Monopoly Go. Right now, I'm not sure how many of you guys have played Monopoly Go, but it's an interesting game, right? It's one of those games that you like play it and you don't think the gameplay is anything that special, right? Like if you go and play Monopoly Go, you would be kind of surprised that it took 5 years to build, right? But that is really normal in the game industry. They take really long to get everything perfect and right, and they don't release things until it's perfect and right. Now, I don't think that actually works in Web3 gaming because nobody really knows what's going to work inside of Web3 gaming and what's not, right? Now, when we actually talk about new features, I think the speed of releasing new features is quite important. But these mistakes that we've been making on live ops is not the same thing as moving fast and breaking things. These were really avoidable and easy to not make mistakes that were truthfully a lack of the team not playing and like being in the community enough. So we need a big strategy change when it comes to rewards and live ops events because there's really big obvious misses that we're making there that shouldn't be happening. My tolerance for those mistakes is very low. My tolerance for mistakes and features like passport or when we get merchant shifts out is very high. Like I want the team to have a comfortable time shipping new features and trying things out. But when it comes to rewards and live ops and things like this, we're losing trust with players in these easy mistakes. So yeah, that's been the key issue with some of these things. So the pets is a really good example of something that you guys have surfaced to us once before, right? That's a mistake that should not have been repeated. And that is something I'm gonna have very, very little tolerance for moving forward, right? Like these are the things that would be very, very easy to ask the community for advice on. Like if you guys had saw the pets traits before they released, this would have been a 5-second interaction and it would have been fine, right? Like we would have fixed it before it went out. Low tolerance there. High tolerance on task force tweaks, high tolerance on gameplay that might not work or might be tried out and like didn't quite go right. So there's a balance. You have to move quick and break things in Web3 gaming. I am like so set on that. And the speed of iteration when it comes to new features needs to be very high. But then these simple mistakes like rewards, live ops events, we need to have very little tolerance for those easy mistakes there. And we really messed up on this pet stuff for the second time, which is a little frustrating. And this is why I'm also rethinking we need to change strategy inside of the team in these particular areas.
Yeah. Okay. So then some other areas that were just blatant mistakes that should not happen is that the sculptures that came out, the scarecrows, you could put more than the limit on land. So the limit is 2 for sculptures across the board, 2 per type, per industry type, per land. And those ones you were able to. So then, some people reacted accordingly, and we did also react accordingly and switched it back. And we appreciate you guys for flagging that. But once again, sloppy mistake that shouldn't have happened. And then there were some more issues with some of the pouch rewards and whatnot, which I won't dive into. But yeah, we just wanted to address all of those things. A lot of people have been asking us to address them. So here we are. We wanted to talk about those. Luke already went on a rant about all of that. I did see a comment that I feel like is a good one into just like moving into the next section of our AMA.
Yeah, actually, this is a good one too. So just get someone who is so we do have quality control inside of the game. I think the issue is we're not listening to them enough internally. And actually, there's also really amazing people on the team that know really, really well the ins and outs of the game. Like I want to give a shout out to Nelly on this AMA because I think Nelly's become one of the strongest people on the team. And believe me, she is the player's biggest advocate inside of the game right now. Nelly is one of those people who catches all of this stuff. And then sometimes she's just getting ignored, to be completely honest. This is a huge issue inside of the game. Like if we're not listening to players on these specific things, I don't think Pixels has a future. And this is part of the conversation I want to have with the players too, where, the Web3 aspect of the gameplay is we need to make sure that both of us are aligned, right? Like players and the game, right? Like the reason why you guys show up on these AMAs right now is because you still love the game and you believe in what we're doing. And I know that, even if you're not always happy in the short term. And there's something that needs to change inside of the game and the team to make sure that's reflected more. Some of the stuff that we're missing right now too, that was making Pixels really special like a year ago, was a lot of the social features, which have been kind of like neglected a little bit too. So when I'm rethinking core game strategy over the next 3 months, I think we're going to start to lean more into that as well too. These live ops events have been great in some aspects, kind of messed up in other aspects. I think we're going a little too hard in some of the monetization with the live ops events. And I think what we need to do is maybe focus more on the social, like the like fun components of it too, because live ops is good in some aspects because it creates a content buffer while we work on bigger features. And somebody just made a somebody just made a comment like this. So I can get you a list of so many loose ends in the game which needs to be fixed before we get any new content. Please don't add more and more things and make things worse. So there is some aspect of this that is right, and there's some aspect of this which I disagree with too. My take on the core game state right now is that in order to actually fix some of the loose ends in the game, what we're missing is the end game content. And when I say end game content, I mean like more things to do inside of the game besides just task board, right? Task board is really what is the game right now. And it's a fine feature. It's actually, I think it's a good system in some aspects. There's a reason why after we released the task board, basically every Web3 game has their own task board now. Even Ronin Wallet is going to be making their own task board. It's on the high level a decent system. But to have it be the only end game system is not enough, basically. So that's where we believe a lot of the work needs to go into the game. Like we need to add more things to do in the end game, whether that be social content, whether that be like more end game features. Like merchant ships is a good step. Merchant ships is not going to fix everything inside of the game. We're not claiming it to be. It's one step towards building out more end game content. Chapter 3 will be some of that too. And we're also thinking about other ways that we can kind of shortcut some of these things as well. Like one thing I'm thinking a lot about now is like how do we get more of the players who really care about the game to be more involved in even the development of the game, right? I'm not quite sure how we do that. Like some of the UGC features that we had built out before were very interesting. I still think that the UGC decorations are one of the best features inside of the game. And there's systems in place that we might be able to add that enhance some of those features even more. We're sitting on some features that were like 80 to 90% done still, like Realms is a good example. I'm not sure if that's the right one to like move forward with. There might be some other ways that we can basically allow users to be more creative and create UGC content, not completely in game engine. Like, I'm not sure if you guys have been seeing like some of the vibe coding stuff, but I actually think a lot more normal users can actually make games using AI now. And some of the stuff that we're doing on the ecosystem side, we might actually be able to give you funding to go out and make a game using the Pixel token. And that might be a way to get some of the UGC functionality in too, right? Like if you can make your own like little Pixel dungeon style mini game, we give you some Pixel to help grow users there. There's something there, right? And that's kind of what we're gonna be doing on the ecosystem side. You'll see some bigger announcements around that soon. Oh, it's funny. I actually didn't even know. There's some news that has not been officially announced, but I guess it's been leaked. I don't know if we should say on it. Apparently, the one deal that we're about to do, or like that one big
no, don't do it.
Okay, we're not saying it. But yeah, what you're going to start to see is you're going to start to see other games use the Pixel token. And what we want to do is we want to actually make it really easy for other games to use the Pixel token. That's kind of what our staking system is going to be like. If you guys saw, I think we leaked it in the last AMA, what it's going to look like. Maybe I can bring it up one more time to show you guys what the staking looks like. This all comes into play with like the core game and what we're thinking about with the future, right? On the ecosystem. And the cool thing about ecosystem is we can expand what you guys can do with Pixel and the utility around it, kind of in a decentralized manner. So let me see if I can pull up the staking stuff really quickly to show you guys. Where is it? Here it is. So this is just the Figma, but this is actually staking's on track. It looks like it's going to release in mid-April. And how it's going to work is it's going to start off a little permission at first. Let me share this Figma with you guys. We have live test builds. It's never smart to pull up a test build of something and share it live on an AMA. If you guys don't know what Figma is, this is basically like the UX of it. But basically, this is how staking is going to work. When you go to stake Pixel, you can see this kind of looks like normal staking UX. And instead of staking to a validator, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be staking to a game in a Pixels ecosystem. So the first game will be something like Core Pixels, right? It'll be normal Pixels game. There'll be Pixel Dungeons here. There'll be other games here too. And what we're actually going to do is we're going to open up the games that can actually be staked to. So how it's going to work is if you stake to a game, that game is actually going to be able to get Pixel to go and give it to its users. So you guys will actually be able to create games if you want and get some Pixel tokens to give to your users and kind of like build out your own play to earn game with Pixel, right? It's going to be really cool when we do that. And that actually might be a way to add some more UGC elements into the game and help you guys decide like what the future looks like, right? And then what's cool is you'll actually get to vote with your Pixel on the future of Pixels too, right? If you don't want to, if you don't think that like Core Pixels, the normal Pixels game, is the most foolish thing in the Pixels ecosystem, you guys can vote with your Pixel tokens on what actually is receiving the tokens. Now, obviously, when we think about this, what we want to encourage is we want to have Core Pixels be the flagship game, right? We also want to make it so that Core Pixels is competitive against other games too. We want to recognize and like kind of put our butts on the line, right? We want you guys to vote with what you guys think is like the most exciting part of the Pixel ecosystem. And obviously we want Core Pixels to be the thing that you guys vote with confidence. And we're going to have to make ourselves competitive against other games inside of the ecosystem to do that. Like, for example, if one of you guys, like the Pixels tips guy, I think he is one of the biggest assets to the Ronin ecosystem out there. He's incredible. He's been making wikis for every single game out there. He's super technical. Like, what if he decided to make a game in the Pixels ecosystem, right? And I think he's actually one of those people that probably could. Making a game, even if you're vibe coding, it's still a little technical. But if you have like a little bit of technical chops, you can go out and do it. Join the Pixel ecosystem and the staking ecosystem, and then even get some Pixel to give out to your game. And we'll help some of the early games kind of do it in the right way, essentially. Or, it's really up to them how they want to give out tokens or how they want to give out rewards inside of their game. But that's one of the things we're thinking about on the ecosystem side. Now, core game, there's still a lot to do there. And again, like the high level, what we're thinking is we need to make the game more fun. Making the game more fun with more end game content is going to help that. Some of the end game content, when we're thinking about strategy, we've been pushing the game in more of like a free to play, like mobile style route. Now, when I say free to play, landowners don't freak out. But when I say free to play, I mean like more mobile friendly, right? That's kind of on the high level of what we're thinking about with core game, where we want to add more features that are more in line with best in class mobile strategies. That was kind of the intention behind some of the live ops and why we're running live ops like this. But then some of the live ops things that we've been doing have obviously not been as effective as it could be. What we've been working on the live ops side is we want to templatize the live ops events more. And the ideal situation is that we'd be able to run a live ops event 24/7. They're not going to be crazy like the holiday event every single time, but they're going to be like some kind of content to do inside of the game. I'm a little questioning if that's the right approach, or if we can kind of like ease the team burden there and then think about different live ops strategies, or even move some of the live ops manpower that we've had, man/woman power we've had, to like long-standing features. That might be the right approach too. I think one of the things that we're still missing inside of a game, and I've been like begging the team to do this, but I might be a little harder on this, is just like long-standing quest content. There's no narrative or lore inside of the game. We've talked to a few community members that maybe come and help us with some of that. But maybe instead of live ops events, what we just need is like an actual quest system that just stays in the game forever, right? There's maybe some narrative there, all that. Give us some of your ideas that we want to see. Like, I would say this month in Core Pixels is a really big month to give us some feedback, because I kind of want to rethink the direction of the core game and listen to you guys on what you guys think is best. Now, let me kind of clarify what kind of feedback is helpful and what we're going to be listening to. Because if your feedback is, I should earn more, that's actually not very helpful feedback to us. we think about things more from the fundamental perspective of how do we make the game better. And here's how it works basically. If we make the game better and more people are willing to, use the pixel token inside of the game because they love the game, then we can actually give out more earnings to people, right? And all that stuff flows after. None of this works if the core game isn't in the spot that it needs to be, or the games in the ecosystem aren't in the spot that it needs to be. So we need to prioritize features that are fun, and the rest of that comes. The earnings come, the spend comes, all of this kind of stuff. So like right now is actually extremely valuable time to get your feedback on the things that you think were going right inside of Core Pixels, the features that you love. I know I've been listening to a lot of it. I know some of the features that you guys loved are like the social features. Like that was some of your initial like hooks into Pixels, right? You would go and meet up with random friends on farms. You would like come together and work on farms together. One thing I missed a lot was the chains that happened in chapter 1. When you would like put a portal on a farm and then you would like link all your farms together. Like there's features like that we kind of like rolled back that I think maybe were mistakes, to be honest. And this is part of the learning process, right? We have to try some things, make some changes to economy, see what works and what didn't work, and then like go back and change them. But yeah, the feedback's gonna be very, very helpful in the next month or two as we're maybe rethinking core strategy inside of the game.
Mm-hmm. Okay, should we look at some questions?
Yeah.
Actually, in the meantime, let's talk about something fun. So actually, right now, in anticipation of our Pixels Festival of Giving event to celebrate the end of Ramadan, which is happening tomorrow, there is a giveaway happening. So around Terravilla, there's in 4 different spots around Terravilla, some themed decor has been placed around. And tomorrow on the live stream, you will get a chance to win that decor. So anyways, right now, go around Terravilla, snap a picture of yourself in all 4 spots, and you can post it on Twitter with this hashtag, which will enter you to win a Pixels pet. If you have forgotten everything I just said, go to our main Twitter account, and the pinned announcement, the pinned post there explains it all. So fun way to win a pet if you didn't get one in the last couple events, because I think the pet will probably be a Clover Clash Lucky themed pet. So go do that. That'll be fun. And then make sure you come to the event tomorrow. It'll be a good one. Okay. Do you want to briefly mention this? You can stake Ron to the validator.
Yeah, so what we're doing there is really cool, actually. So basically, when you stake Ron to our Pixels validator, Pixels is not taking any of that commission that we make. So I think we put the commission to 7%. None of that is going to go to the Core Pixels team or like foundation or anything like that. It's going to go back to players via staking. So basically, it's kind of like a win-win for both of us, right? If you stake Pixels to the Core Pixels game, we're basically going to be giving that Ron back to the stakers, which is awesome, right? And think about that a lot in the ecosystem side of things too. Like that's kind of the long-term plan with staking. We basically want to increase other revenue streams for the Pixel token and then share the rewards that are given to us with the people who are helping secure the network. How I like to view Pixel and the token is I like to view it as a network, right? And what's the network's goal? The network's goal is to basically increase play to earn across gaming in general, right? I think every game will be play to earn in 10 years, or at least have some elements of it. There's actually a really big trend in Web 2 even happening with like this concept called rewarded play. There's a few companies that are doing it pretty well. Like let me pull up one of these like research reports that we got the other day. Rewarded play, aka incentivized traffic, is a UA channel where rewards are paid, often real money, for their progress in the game. For example, a user would be prompted to download CoinMaster and offer different cash bounties based on their progress. This is something that's happening in Web 2 right now. These offers are typically time-bound, where higher payouts are set such that users must make in-app purchases to reach that level of progress. Like, for example, if you hit level 100 in CoinMaster in 7 days, you might get a cash payout. That's happening in Web 2. There's a company called, what's it called? Adjo that's even doing this right now in Web 2. Now, what's cool about Web 3 is it makes it 100 times easier, and it's extremely competitive to even the Web 2 version of that. And I love this concept. This is kind of the concept we're trying to bring to Web3 and gaming in general, make it easier, better. Adjo made 100 million in revenue last year, which is pretty crazy, right? And they've been growing like crazy too. I really think the Web3 model could be extremely competitive to this. And this is kind of like the bigger vision for like the Pixels ecosystem, right? Now, in order to do that, we need games, and we need games that people love, want to be spending in order to facilitate that, right? So the ecosystem side, what we're doing is we want to make Pixels the flagship game of all of this. Like Pixels is the pride and joy of the Pixel ecosystem. We want to make sure that the game is in as good of a position as possible. But there's also other games that we could be basically offering the same model to. And what we can do is basically use some of that revenue to help secure the network as well. We want to give reasons for more games to join the Pixel ecosystem. And then we want to basically give you guys more reasons to like vote on what games get the tokens and like make bets there. So that's kind of the idea there.
Okay. You already talked about staking quite a bit.
You've been talking about merchant ships for 4 months. Are you sure they didn't?
This made me laugh. You were talking about something serious and I burst out laughing. So I apologize.
Yeah, so merchant ships, that's one of those features where, again, think about the normal game studio. Sometimes features end up taking longer than they're supposed to. It sucks. You don't want that to happen. When you're a company like Scopely and you're building a game for 4 years, it's really normal. That's kind of why normal Web2 games take so long to make. Even games that seem very simple on the surface, there's a lot of stuff behind them. Sometimes there's miscommunication inside of a team. Merchant ships is one of those features where it took us longer than I wanted it to. And there were some like internal issues there if you want like the full transparency. And it sucks because if we were like building in a closed ecosystem, it would have been fine, right? If like we didn't do AMAs, we didn't fill you guys in on like progress and updates, no one would know. But that's also like, it's an unfortunate but very normal part of building a game where some features take longer. My job as founder and CEO of the companies, I want to minimize those mistakes. Sometimes they happen. And I think the team is in a better spot now where the speed of iteration, the updates have been increasing. Like we've been updating weekly, which is great. And now like team directive internally is like, we need to get important updates out every single week. I don't care if an update's going out every week if it isn't important. And that's kind of been like the team wake up call. But yeah, basically merchant ships took longer than it was supposed to. We're going to really, really try to release it next week. I think it's going to go. Now, this is where we need some grace from the community. Like we have options here, right? Merchant ships is a new feature and it might not be perfect when it releases, but I think this is the type of feature where if it's not perfect when it releases, that's kind of okay. We can make it better and better. Live ops events, pet stats, you know, inflating resources or like rewards, that's not okay to mess up. This stuff, I do have the belief that it's like, okay, we can get this out sooner. I think it's better to get it out sooner so we can manage expectations, and also just like improve it with actual feedback from the community live. And that one is one where it's like, if it's messed up and we fix it the next week, it's not as painful, right? If we mess up a pet trait, it's on chain and it's very messy to change, right? If we release a feature and the rewards aren't as good as people want, that's an easier fix, right? And that's something we can like update and tweak quite often. Like for example, it took us a really long time to get Taskboard into a good spot, but now if you've noticed, I think we've released 4 Taskboard updates in the last week and a half. The Taskboard's getting updated a lot more quickly, and that's in a better spot. That's kind of how we view merchant ships too, where we're gonna get it out. It might not be perfect right away. It's not gonna fix and save the game either. Like that's not the claim that we're making. It's a good, nice to have feature that is a step towards better end game, and like kind of the idea there. So view it as a step to getting more compelling end game out to like kind of add more core loops that are more engaging. And then we hope to add another feature like that, chapter 3, that will be kind of in a similar vein too, where it's going to be more compelling end game, more things to do at the end of your like Pixels journey, basically. So you're not just interacting with Taskboard. You'll have merchant ships and you'll have chapter 3 to go and interact with. And that's kind of the idea there. So, I mean, I completely agree. We need more gameplay into the Pixel world. There's a lot that we can do. There's also an urgency that we need as well. So some of what I'm thinking with core gameplay is, you know, there's short-term things we need to fix. Like we've been going through and like tackling a lot of like landowner requests, right? Because landowner gameplay is not as compelling as it used to be. There's a couple of reasons behind this, right? So one thing in chapter 1 is chapter 1 was actually very unsustainable when it came to resource inflation. And that was one of those problems that we knew it was going to bite us in the butt if we didn't make a change and we had to. Now, resource inflation, if you look at like Pixels tips and you look at coin inflation, it's actually relatively under control now. And that's in a better spot. Not saying that chapter 2.5 and everything with the current state of the game is in an amazing spot, but the resource inflation, coin inflation has been relatively under control. There's a few things that we need to do with not coin inflation, but the coin OTC market's getting a little out of hand again. So we're going to experiment with some stuff there. But now we can actually start to focus on some of these end game features and then go through some of the tweaks that are requested to make land gameplay a bit more compelling. How I like to view land is like Pixel's end game, right? Land is one of those things where free-to-play players and players who don't have land should want it, right? They should want it because it unlocks more types of gameplay or more interesting like management style gameplay than owning a spec does, right? Your specs are single player, the lands are multiplayer, right? The lands are kind of how you like manage guilds, how you manage like some of the complexities of like the social relationships inside of Pixels, and can be a really fun part of the game if we do them right. We had to go and like fix some of the game economy, right? So that kind of leads to like resource production nerfing in the short term. But now that it's under control, we can basically play around with things a lot more. Quicksilver was one of those features that is a step in the right direction. And it's one of those features I like because there's actually good incentive alignment. When you think about the features that are beneficial to both us and users, that's the kind of feature I'm looking for a lot more. And that's how I kind of view earnings too. How I like to view earnings is we should reward players who help Pixels grow and who help Pixels become better, right? So part of earnings is doing task board, right? Like you guys playing the game and showing up and giving feedback is very, very helpful to us. And task board is one of those mechanisms that we can do that through. But also Quicksilver was a good example, and creator codes was a good example too, of a different type of feature that rewards different types of behavior inside of the game that helps give earnings too. So Quicksilver, if you have a land that's really active, this is the like intention and end goal behind it, is you get a cut of the Quicksilver spend that's used on your land, right? There might be some more interesting ways to do this in the long run. Like for example, the Quicksilver kind of accumulates to people who have been like gathering rare industries, which I think is actually, it's good and bad, right? There's like arguments that you can make for both directions on that one. You could argue that, yeah, the people who have rare industries should get more rewards, right? Because, you know, they went out and got the rare industries. Those aren't easy to get. They take some risk getting them too, right? It's kind of fair to reward those people more. But then also what Quicksilver is missing on right now is respecting like the NFT trait rarity too. And the NFT trait rarity that's kind of baked into the NFT should be probably a more important part of the game economy and like what we're working on there too. So when people keep talking about like, you know, we talked about Operation Unrug Land, right? What do you think about the progress of the landowner re-rug or unrug project? Fortunately, I think I see less and less things that would help the situation. But I do want to assure you is like, one thing we need is like a little less doom and gloom here, right? Like this team is working as hard as ever. And like we're taking feedback on the things that we want, like need to improve on. So here is kind of the thought process behind all the stuff with like chapter 2 and like what we're doing around core gameplay and land. One is chapter 1, like the game economy was not in as good of a spot, right? We gave out like $6 million more rewards than we got in spend in March of 2024, right? That number is a lot smaller now, which is good. Like we're getting closer and closer to sustainability, but it was very unsustainable in chapter 1. And I think that's what some people didn't really see, right? So we had to fix that. And now we can kind of go and like rethink about like how do we start to bring back utility to these traits, utility to land, and make it like more compelling gameplay too. We had to fix those issues first. Those issues are like relatively fixed when it comes to the game economy, when it comes to resource production. Now we need to kind of go and add back some of these like more interesting levers there. So you have a list of all the like updates that we made in the last like we could bring that up. Or we do have a separate landowner AMA that
we're gonna go through it a bit tomorrow on our landowner AMA, which is obviously only for landowners, but I'm sure they will share things publicly. And while I have you, last week we gave away a VIP, which we love doing, and the recipient, the winner, Black Sheep, is a landowner and is automatically gets VIP. And so she actually asked me to instead give away 2 today. So I just tweeted it. We're going to give away 2 VIPs. So I don't know. I'll do them at the end. But then also one person asked, how do I get a Ramadan outfit? So I don't think I've even leaked. Oh no, I did leak it. Never mind. We did post that we were doing this. Okay. But I thought I would show you. So they're just going to be available in the store for 10 pixels, very similarly to other events that we have done. But I thought it would be fun to show you them. Oh, 1 second. I've got to, oh no. Okay, shoot. I cannot share my screen. Transparently, I had to wipe my computer recently because it was malfunctioning. So Luke, I'm going to need you to go into preview.
Yeah.
Go into preview and walk right north of the fountain. There's like a very temporary looking shop. Can you click on that? And it should show all the Ramadan outfits. And then you can share your screen.
Oh my gosh, 1 second.
If I do it, I have to restart Chrome. So or maybe I can maybe snap a picture. Hold on, maybe I can make it work.
I'm in preview now. Where should I go?
The like very temporary looking shop right next to my Ronki. I'm standing here with a Ronki. There you go. Click on that. So those are the 6 Ramadan themed outfits that will be available. I hope we can get them in by today, but they will definitely be available for tomorrow's event, which will be really fun. So, yay. All right.
Somebody said Pixels tips in his OTC market is part of coin inflation problem. Okay, so here's what we're thinking with some of this. So one of the things we've been doing is we've been pricing some of the in-game items stable in US dollars. I'm re-questioning that strategy a little bit now, because what we need to do with the coin OTC market is we need to make buying coins in game competitive. Now, what's interesting is I'm becoming a lot more interested in app tokens. I don't know if do any of you know what app tokens are?
Explain it like we're 5.
Yeah, leave some comments if you guys know what app tokens are. Yeah, no one knows what app tokens are. Okay, so app tokens, what they are is there's something that was made by Limit Break. Do you guys know what ERC 721C is? That's another thing that was made by Limit Break too. So Limit Break, if you know what Limit Break is, it's like DigiDaiku. It's that company that Gabriel Layden is the founder of. And basically what it is it's a way to kind of add rules to tokens, which are kind of interesting. No, app tokens are not down-only tokens. App tokens are for decentralized applications. Basically, how I view coins is I actually think app tokens are a really good use for coins, and even maybe pixel rewards too. I can't talk too much about that, but I think one thing that I'm going to start to look into a little bit more, and don't keep me on timelines here, even though this is something where it's like, I think core pixels needs some step function changes. And when I say step function changes, I mean some like radical changes into some of our approaches, right? I don't think everything that we've been doing over the last 3 months, if we keep doing this for the next 3 months, are going to get us to where we need to get, right? So I'm kind of going back to some of the drawing board, keeping the same like long-term vision in mind of like making the game more fun, working on chapter 3 and other features like that. Like the key thesis stays the same. where we still need to basically build out better end game features. Things like merchant ships is a good step. Things like chapter 3 is a good step too. But is that going to be enough? I don't know. And I don't think so, actually. I think what we need to do is rethink some of like the core features of the game that kind of already exist. And there might be some small tweaks that we can add to make them better. Like, for example, I get asked all the time, can we bring back Barry? There's something interesting in that for sure. And Barry, as it was very unsustainable. Barry was inflating 3% a day. It was kind of subsidized by like pixels blowing up at the time, right? We went from 1,000 to 10,000 DAU to like 1,000,000 DAU in like 4 to 6 months, right? So that was a lot more eyes and visibility on Barry. There was also a ticking time bomb, and I was very nervous about it the whole time. Now, app tokens are interesting because we might be able to bring back some components of an on-chain currency, but add some rules to it. That might be an interesting use case for coins. We bring that back on chain. And maybe we don't even call it coins, so we bring it back on chain. Maybe we do call it Barry. We'll see on that one. So I'm gonna do some experimentation and like do some research there in the next like couple of weeks to see what that might look like. It's one of those things where like we already have a system in place to get stuff like that back on chain if we want, right? Like, that tech is there. But we need to do it in a little bit different of a way than we did Barry if we were to bring it back on chain, right? And there actually might be some interesting pixel mechanics that we can add to the core gameplay too. One of the things I've been thinking a lot about right now, and this is going to be like a little controversial, but I'm curious. I want to put out some feelers to see what you guys think about this. Is one thing I think is a really interesting mechanic that we could use app tokens for is we could reward not just staking, but we could reward holding the token or holding your rewards more too, right? Like imagine if you earned a pixel token inside of the game and we gave you more pixel tokens for not withdrawing it for like 3 months, right? That creates a more interesting incentive alignment between us, right? Where you're earning and you like have more of a reason to hold your tokens inside of the game. You get rewarded for it. And it kind of helps cut some of that loop of people who like earn and withdraw immediately and don't really help the game grow in the right way, right? Like it creates better alignment between us and players. So there's some interesting things that I'm like looking into there. But again, like the key thing that we need to work on at Pixels is like core game improvements, because that's going to increase trust. That's going to increase like all the other things that we want. So all these other things are kind of like secondary, basically. Will you guys allow artists to create a series of outfits, UGC, and other stuff to be used at a feature event like Valentine, CNY, Harvest Hustle, and to be seen in game? I like that idea a lot. So the other thing I'm trying to crack here basically is how do we have our players help us more? Because you guys love the game, you guys love the community, and you guys are willing to help. You guys show up on AMAs and give us a ton of feedback and comments. I promise we listen to them. And the hard part is the team is only like, they only have so much capacity, right? Like if I could snap my fingers and change all the issues and fix them right away, believe me, I would. But the thing is, maybe we can accelerate some of that by having you guys help us more and have you guys able to contribute more than just ideas. Like I'm sure a lot of you guys would actually contribute to the game, like create art, create quests, like all of this kind of stuff if you could, right? Or even like help us test in QA if we gave more people that opportunity. That's why I'm going to go back to the drawing board in the next week or so and like try to figure out, because this is a great example of an area where users want to help. They have really cool ideas. We can kind of like have you guys help us. And there's probably other things like that too. I'm happy with the latest updates, but I'd like to know what they're planning to do to attract new players, because the gameplay is boring for a new player. Yeah, I agree with that. So I think we actually have been making a lot of updates to the FTUE, FTUE. That's a technical term in game design, first time user experience. But the long term, what we're trying to do with Pixels 2 is I want to make it mobile friendly. I want to release on the App Store. So in order to release in the App Store, what's actually cool is, I don't know if you guys have been following Pirate Nation and a few other games. It looks like they're actually kind of ready to release on the App Store. And what's interesting is like the Web 2.5 model of Pixels, where it's not like fully on chain. It's actually very beneficial to the App Store. I wanted to see other teams release on the App Store first to see what we needed to do to make it work. But it looks like actually the way that we've implemented our tech is actually App Store friendly with the regulation. So we're gonna kind of follow that. What we need to actually make mobile work on Pixels though is the first time user experience needs to be much smoother. And this is actually something we're working on in the Pets app too. Maybe what I'll do today or tomorrow is kind of post updates on the Pets app. The Pets app is on track for early access. I think we want to give early access in April to some users. And the thought process behind it is the Pets app, it's in kind of like an MVP state. MVP means minimum viable product. The game works, you can go and play it, but we're going to need more features in it to like fully see like the explosive growth that we might want out of it. And there's a little bit of optimization that we need to do on the first time user experience. Here's a good example of what we're going to be doing on the Pets app. We're not going to require Pixels login to start playing the game for Pets app, but we're going to require it if you want to earn rewards. So basically you'll get to play the game. You don't have to sign in or anything on the Pets app. You'll just like start playing, and then we might give you a Pixel reward for something, and you'll have to basically connect the Pixels account after. That's a really good example of like a first time user experience optimization that would be very mobile friendly.
All right, we got 2 minutes left. Maybe we should do VIPs, or is there something last that you wanted to address? Okay, hold on. No, I really want to address this. We don't necessarily give our farm hands alpha. And if they do receive it, these are Pixels representatives that are expected to act and behave and perform in a way that represents the company. Yeah. It is not like, and people always think it's just like, oh, these are our favorite people. It's not like that. They have a hard job, moderation, testing. We communicate with them directly. And I really dislike this attitude because it's not true. It's really not. And I have so much respect for our farmhands.
They do work very hard. The one thing I do agree with though is I think more people would want to help us test things. And I think we should probably figure that out. I've been pushing for that internally a lot. I think we're figuring out a system actually. So what we're working on right now is we're working on different staging environments where we might be able to kind of give you guys access to like a test environment in Pixels, leave that one completely open where you guys can give us some feedback on some stuff. I think it'll cut down a lot of errors. Basically, if we get like a live ops event on the staging environment, kind of open it to almost everyone. Maybe not everyone, maybe it's going to be like landowners and like certain reputation, something like that. But I am very bullish on that kind of thing. What we need to figure out Pixels is how to have you guys help us more who want to help us, right? Like not everybody's going to want to go in staging environments and like test new features and like give us some feedback, but some of you do. And some of you really care. So we should let you guys do it if you want to and care, right?
Okay. VIP. Sorry, actually I cut you off. Is there something you wanted to address before we do VIP?
Yeah, let's stick around like a little bit longer because there's still some good questions before we get out. So, okay, somebody asked about Pixel circulating supply, Binance showing 2.8 billion is real, or is let me take a look. So the Binance numbers should be right. We updated our coin market cap. Like we submitted a form. I'll reping them to make sure that's accurate. Coin market cap is not accurate right now. Basically what happened is we moved all of the tokens from the Genesis wallet into on-chain vesting contracts. And coin market cap changed the way that they calculate circulating supply. We filled out the forms. We're waiting for them to update that. The Binance market cap should be accurate. The coin market cap one is a little inaccurate. The reason why it's inaccurate is basically how coin market cap calculates circulating supply is they look at a list of locked wallets. And we moved tokens from Genesis wallets into on-chain vesting contracts on Ronin. So you can actually go and see all of the team allocation, all the investor allocation, all of the advisor allocations on-chain on Ronin in vesting contracts. This is actually a level of transparency almost no team does because it's all on-chain and visible, right? And you can even see like what all these people are doing if you really want to like follow these wallets, right? What you can see actually is great. Like all of our investors are actually behaving very well. Our largest investors, or the largest investors of the largest private sale holders of the in-game pixel currency, and like the VCs, right? You can see the largest ones are actually holding, and most of them intend to stake, which is great. That was one of those things that, you know, was a big question of the Pixel token. And what you'll also see too is you'll see that like all the tokens are accounted for also. One of the projects that was listed on Binance Movement got in big trouble for doing like weird backdoor deals, basically. And what you can see is we have every single lock token accounted for on chain. It's all visible. It's all there. They're in on-chain vesting contracts. There was nothing shady that happened with that kind of stuff. And I'm actually quite proud of that. Like we did things the right way. We're not doing anything untransparently. It's all on chain, and you know, you can see it if you want. This is an interesting comment. The best thing to do now is stop launching pixel burning events and instead unlock the free economy. When will pixel burning project last until no one plays this game anymore? So there's a lot of different people that have different opinions here, right? If your only focus in the game is earning as much as possible, you're allowed to want that, right? We're not saying that's a bad thing, but also you have to think about like the long term of Pixels too. How I view my role at Pixels is I still think that there's like 5 to 10 years I need to dedicate towards Pixels, right? This is a long-term thing for me at least, right? And we need to build something that works in the long term too. I have no interest in building something that I don't think is fundamentally sound. And in order to build something fundamentally sound, we need well, the end effect of something fundamentally sound is one, like sustainable economics, right? So we do need to have a game that has more pixel revenue than rewards given out. That's why we've been talking about return on reward spend for years, right? Or at least for like the last year. And that also means we do need pixel burn inside of the game, right? Now, how this works for like the earn audience, the people who are only interested in earning is, you know, we want to make sure that we're rewarding players for like different reasons, right? Some people earning inside of the game for the gameplay, and that alone is probably good for the game, right? Like we need a player base, we need an audience there to support the other features and functions of the game. We also do need users that love the game and want to be using the token in the game because, you know, it levels them up, it advances them, it like gives them joy, right? That kind of stuff too. So the burn is quite important too, right? We need both of those things. So this is an area of like feedback where this is what I mean, where it's like, we need feedback from you guys on how to make the game better. And all those other things come. If the game's better, then the spend and the burn will come, then the earnings will come too, right? Like we can target the earnings better as well. And that's the progress we've been making towards, like, that's why we're focused on like this metric called return on reward spend so much. This is why I talk about like solving play to earn. The prize for whoever solves play to earn is big, right? Like the Web2 company that's doing that, Adjo, they made 100 million in revenue in 2024. That's pretty crazy, right? Pixels did 20 million in revenue in 2024. That's good, but there's a lot of room to grow, and there's still a lot of expansion there as well too. So that's the concept here, right? And that's also why I'm really thinking more about how can we make it so that people who earn are more incentivized to hold the token, not just through staking, but through other in-game mechanics too. Because I want the people who are earning to also care about the other stuff that we're doing on the ecosystem too. Play to earn is awesome because basically you get to partake in a Web3 ecosystem without any capital up front. That's kind of awesome, right? Like if you really think about it, you get to be a part of something bigger without having to spend any money. That's awesome. It's so cool. And I want you guys to also be excited about the ecosystem stuff that we're doing. And that's why we might even add in some things of like incentivizing you to hold your tokens in game a little bit longer, or doing some other cool things like that. Like imagine if you got earnings inside of the game and you like got to like double your earnings if you just held it for 90 days or something like that. There's some cool stuff that we might be able to do. But obviously with the incentives not there, like why should you hold your earnings, right? It doesn't make sense right now. So we want to give you some reasons to do that. Does pixel in game also show in circulating supply? Yeah. So pixel in game shows as basically like unlocked pixel. How that works on the technical side is there's like a few wallets, like a series of wallets that hold them. Like that's all been handed off to the right people. Those count as circulating. Yes. And yeah, let's see. Any other good questions before we do the VIP giveaway?
VIPs.
Let's see. Any final questions right now? Come on, let's go. If you have a good one, we'll answer it. Otherwise, we'll do the VIP giveaway. Okay, last question. Luke, would you say it's a good time to buy a land right now? I can't give any advice on what to do with this kind of stuff. I can't talk about that. What I will say is I can make a broader statement on crypto in general. I think market and macro is, generally weak right now, right? And if I'm giving advice when I think about like the general market in general, or like the bigger market in general when it comes to crypto, like I don't think it makes sense to sell anything in crypto right now, right? Like I think a lot of people think the market's bottoming out right now. Sentiment changed really quickly with macro markets too. It's interesting because no matter what you do in crypto or in this kind of stuff, we're all influenced by the macro, right? So, a lot of the stuff that is going on in US economy affects all of this stuff, right? And it decreases investor confidence. And even like the S&P 500, if you guys have been following the stock market's not performing very well over the last 2 months, largely due to uncertainty in the macro, which means like tariffs, all this kind of stuff. Now, what some people are thinking is like the macro is starting to look a little bit better and it's not as bad as it is. So I don't think it's a good time to like get really bearish. Basically, when people are the most bearish in any market, right? Like that's normally a sign where you shouldn't be making like bearish decision making. It's really easy to FOMO. Like a good example is like I held when I worked at like a tech company, like a lot of our stock in like 2020. And when COVID crash happened, I was like, oh shoot, it's going to keep going down forever. I need to sell all of my stuff. It bounced back up like 100% in like a month or two. And I basically sold peak bottom of all of my RSUs at a previous tech company, which is a mistake, right? It's really easy to get emotional in bad markets. And just know that like markets bounce up and down, right? And sentiment changes according to that as well too. I think Pirate Nation is a good example where they got delisted from Bybit and all their perps also turned off for that reason. There was like a 3-day span where before that happened, people were a little annoyed at the team, right? Typical crypto gaming stuff. The token price fluctuated in a positive way for a little bit. All of a sudden, the team was doing an amazing job. Everybody was very bullish on Pirate Nation, and then it went back to normal. And now people are not so happy again, too. I mean, so sometimes some of this is like a function of markets, right? Like the sentiment and all of that. Not to say that the Pixels team shouldn't be improving the game and like working to do that. But there's still a lot for us to do there. And yeah, that's my general advice. When people are bearish, that's kind of a time to not make emotional decisions. But yeah, maybe let's do the VIP giveaway now.
Okay, so we're going to do 2 VIP giveaways because of Black Sheep. Actually, I noticed that there you go. So you can thank Black Sheep if you win today because we're going to be doing 2 because of her. So how it works is just the most ridiculous thing ever. On our comment live chat, I literally, like, we see all of them from YouTube and Twitter, and I go like this on my little rolly thing, and then I stop it and I click. Okay, so we're going to do that. So the very first one, let's go. We're rolling. This is actually so funny.
The biggest comment wins. Is that the new alpha now?
Maybe, I guess. No, it's not. Please don't spam. Although everyone's been spamming for the last 10 minutes. Is it Yoka or Joka Games Pixels? Love the avatar. Clearly, you're an OG if you have this thing. Oh my gosh. Okay. Reach out to support and prove to them that this is your YouTube account associated with your Pixels account, and we will send over a 3-month VIP. And okay, we're scrolling, and hello, Farmer. Nay, so lovely to meet you. If we've probably met actually, but anyways, please reach out to support once again with your YouTube account. Prove to them it is your YouTube account, and we'll send over that VIP. Great. All right, this has been a long one.
Yeah, we have a landowner AMA tomorrow. We'll dig into some more of that stuff as well there too. But yeah, key takeaway from this AMA, if you want to ask what my takeaways are, is there's some stuff that's been going well at Pixels. There's some bigger stuff and like some exciting stuff that's happening this next month. Like I really am bullish on our staking side of things. The staking is novel and it's not something that Web3 has really seen too much of before. So I'm excited about that for that reason. And I do think it's going to be like pretty big for like the whole ecosystem. Beyond that, there are acknowledgements on our end that there are some things that we need to do a lot better on in the core game. And we need to minimize the easy mistakes that we've been making. And that might lead to some bigger strategy changes too. And then the last takeaway is we need to find more ways for you guys to help us make the game better. And we need to maybe think about more features that end up making the game more fun, that kind of complement the long term of what we're already doing with, you know, new features like merchant ships or chapter 3. So that's the high level. That's the TLDR. Yeah, there's a lot still going on. And we'll be around the Discord more. If you've seen, I've been popping in Discord more. We've been talking. We love this game. We want to see it do as best as it possibly can. And yeah, we really, really appreciate everybody who still believes in us and what we're doing here.
All right. And with that, we'll see you next week. Say bye from Ella. Oh, okay. Bye, guys.